Hello, everyone. Welcome to Everything Arsenal. We are back again with Cozy for another podcast. A lot to talk about as always. Give me spot. Understand that Arsenal could go back in for Pedro Neto. Yes, we had that right, Pedro Neto. Ex-Everton CEO has confirmed that ONANA will definitely leave Everton. Will he be joining Arsenal? We'll talk about that. And also the latest in terms of our midfield plans and also our defensive plans. Cozy, how are you?
I'm perfect. I'm fine. Still enjoying the beauty of the Euros. Just a very wonderful tournament, wonderful football, and obviously, the fixtures coming out. I am now a little bit desperate to see a signing, desperate to see what the plan is. So we are going to crack into it, right into this episode.
Absolutely. Speaking of enjoying the Euros, I don't think you guys will enjoy this part. So we'll talk about this for a couple of minutes. Kieran Tierney. This was the scenes last night while Scotland were playing against Switzerland. Kieran Tierney injured. It looks like a knee injury, a hamstring injury. For sure, it looked like something that's going to keep him out for 3-4 months.
Yeah.
Now, we're already struggling to get money for him. Now, obviously, quick recovery to him. Absolutely. I think in terms of Arsenal players, is one of the good people who've been at Arsenal the last few years. But for me personally, I feel like it's time to leave. I don't think he's going to be used. But there's still some people who believe that he should stay ahead of Zinchenko. Personally, I don't agree with that. Now, we are struggling to get 10 million for him because teams are offering 10 million to get Kieran Tierney, but it doesn't seem like we're going to get it now. He's injured. And this could actually mean that no team actually comes in for him and he ends up staying. So do you feel it's going to end up the way you don't want it to end? Because I feel like eventually it's going to leave Arsenal on a free. But
Yeah.
what do you make of this? Because he's now injured again. He is now injured again. And it looks
Yeah.
like a serious injury.
Yeah, sure. He pulled his hamstring. I was watching that game, and the moment he actually runs into the penalty area, trying to defend, and he pulls his hamstring, I'm watching, and I'm like, no, this is not happening. So I'm, first and foremost, devastated for him. I like him as a player. I like him as a person. He's a very hardworking guy, and the work ethic he has is a work ethic that you couldn't actually identify with a group of players that he was playing with prior
Yeah.
to Mikel Arteta's arrival at Arsenal. So for me, it's a bad story for him because he's struggled with injuries all his life at Arsenal. He struggled with injuries even when we went out on loan to Real Sociedad. We thought maybe he would revive his career there, but again, injuries got in the way. I didn't expect him to pick up an injury at the Euros. I thought that 2-3 games would be enough to advertise him and bring us a couple of clubs that are interested. And he was having a very good game, a very good game, a very good game. But it really happens. Things like this really happen in football. So I'm gonna say Arsenal have to do what they did with Mohamed El Neni now. It shouldn't be about getting the money out of him. It should be about, I think the sportsmanship. That's what we've got to
I
do.
don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to
I don't
happen.
know. We've got to keep him till the end of his contract and then let him go on a free because who are you going to sell him to with a long-term hamstring injury? Which could see him for the out for the whole of next season. That's a bad injury. That was a very very bad injury. If you look at it, but of course we are going to wait for the medics. We're gonna hear what they're gonna say. But hamstrings with Kieran Tierney, those are not good injuries. So I think
But there's,
I
yeah.
don't think Arsenal really going to get money out of him. I don't see any way we get money out of him unless we are going to be brutal and cancel his contract.
There's people who want him to recover so that he plays for Arsenal. Do you share the same opinion? That people are like, nah, I'm happy actually going to stay. He's going to play. I want him to play.
I have stopped being on the fence a long time ago. These days I'm a little bit direct and brutal when I say I don't see Arsenal win this game. I don't see Arsenal win that game. When I say Kieran Tierney, it's time to move on. It's time to move on for Kieran Tierney. And I think I've already said that Tierney should have been sold 2 seasons ago. Now you don't expect me to turn around and say I really want him to stay. I think there's one player that I would love to come back, and that would be Granit Xhaka. No question about that. I think he's massively improved ever since the last season he played for Arsenal and for Leverkusen. But with Kieran Tierney, you've got to agree. Injury prone like Partey, Zichenko, and Tomiyasu, right? So even if he had really stayed, even if he really stays, is he going to play for you 15 games? Kieran Tierney, he's made of glass. He's really made of straws. With those legs. So I'm not really sure keeping him is the best option. He's good at left back. There's no question about that. But there's a system that Mikel wants to play. There is a certain way we play as a team. And there's a real identity about Arsenal. We are no longer being asked about what do Arsenal really play. We know what we play, and it is players to adapt to that, not the system adapting to the players. So for me, Tierney, his days at Arsenal were over 360 days times two ago.
I agree. Now there's other fans who want him to stay because he's better than Zinchenko and whatever. I like Tine as a person, but I don't see why people want him to stay. He can't play 2 games in a row. Injuries are not his fault. Yes, people will say, yeah, Tomias gets injured as well, Twata gets injured as well, but he can't add another one. That's why people are even trying to sell Tomias in the first place, trying to sell Pat in the first place because of injuries. And Tine, as because you said, it's glass completely, and you cannot depend on him on that left side at all. You can't, and I wish him all the best. But for the others who wanted to get 20-25 million for Tine, I think that ship has sailed. I think you can only now he can even be like 5 million. Whoever is going to buy him next, people will offer like 5 million if he actually recovers quickly and maybe gets sold in January. It's happened the same way Nelson's injury happened a couple of seasons ago. I think he was going to be sold that season before he started scoring those last minute goals. He was supposed to be sold that season before, but he got injured and we had to keep him. And then he also got injured and we had to keep him. So I think for Tine it could be the same, and we're not going to get money from that. So the 10 million you're expecting from that, at least you're not going to get that money from that. But let us know what you make of Tine's situation. Do you think it's just unlucky? Do you think he should actually stay in terms of playing for us? Now, speaking of injuries, Pedro Neto, Kozi. The latest on Pedro Neto. Arsenal could choose to revive their interest in Pedro Neto. Give Me Sports sources have revealed there is belief among Wolves insiders that a deal could be struck in the coming weeks, with Neto pinpointed as the expected big money departure of the summer. This is according to Dane Jones. Now, you know why this story, first of all, has popped up? Because he came off the bench and made an impact in that Portugal game. I think he got the assist or stuff. So, looking at this player, I think like fit, Pedro Neto is one of the best wingers in the league for sure. Like his pace, his trickery, his end product, very, very good. Is very, very good. Do you think he's very good to the point where you'll be willing to take a risk and get him even with 2-3 injuries per season? As long as he can play for you 20 games in the league, you'll be able to risk it, and you'll be happy to risk it because he's so good.
It would be foolish. It would be foolish for us to sign Pedro Neto. And I know many Arsenal fans will find this as an unpopular opinion. Yes, it is an unpopular opinion because he's one of the electric quality wingers you can get from a Premier League side this season, last season, and even next season. He will start the season with Wolves. He might assist, he might score against Arsenal. I'm sure about that. The thing with him is you cannot take a risk that is always going to happen. Like you just can't go to fetch water with a basket full of hose. That is the risk. That is the risk associated with it. It's you carrying water in a basket of threads. He's an incredible talent, wonderful talent. If I was to talk about him, I would take a whole day. I would need a whole day to tell you about the exquisite nature of this guy. But when does he play? I mean, we saw him started the season last season very well, assisted 7 times, scored around 4-5 times.
Yeah, he was top in terms of assists.
He was top in terms of assists. And then where did he go? What happened? Kevin De Bruyne came back and had a more consistent spell, and Kevin De Bruyne is, by the way, older. And in the end, Kevin was topping in terms of assists in the Premier League. And this guy, who had a very, very good start, he picks up an injury and he disappears, like literally disappears. So for me, even if he was 10 million, Pedro Neto at the moment, I don't think Arsenal should ever have this guy on their list. Like, just erase him. If you don't have an eraser, tear out that piece of paper on the list and just write a new one. It's over. That ship for Pedro Neto should have sailed on a long time ago. Like, a long time ago.
There's a couple of people who say the last 2 seasons have been the ones that has been injury stricken, but before that, in 2021 and 2022, not too many injuries. Now, this past season, he had a hamstring injury twice. The first one kept him out for 9 games. The second one kept him out for 10 games. He missed 58 days and 67 days. The season before, he had an ankle injury that kept him out for 27 games. Then before that, before 2023, his last injury was back in 2021, where he missed 52 games, the knee injury. Then before that, he also had muscle injury, a knock, a calf injury. Basically, he's missed a lot of games. You can only get at least 12 games maybe from him in a whole season. So you said even for 10 million, you're not interested. Maybe people could argue it's because he plays every single day. That's why he picks up injuries. Maybe if he comes to Arsenal.
The thing with players like Pedro Neto, I think we talked about it with was it Isak? When a player doesn't suffer from one injury, it is unpredictable. You don't know how to deal with them. He suffered from a muscle injury, a hamstring injury, a knee injury, an ankle injury, a soft abdomen, a soft head, closed eyes. You literally don't know what to expect from this guy coming from one injury to the other, right? If you give him a very good knee injury and you're sure, with Gabriel Jesus has a knee problem that he picked up at the World Cup. We know that. So you can work your way around that. And if one surgery gets it right, he's put his knee problems behind him. With Pedro Neto, you do not know what injury you're dealing with, for long term. You're literally dealing with a different injury every single time. You're dealing with a different kind of problem every single time. And I hear you when you say, and people who say maybe he's picking up injuries because he's playing every single time and too many games. But we're talking about a guy who has not played half of the games of Bukayo Saka. We are talking about a guy who has not played half the number of games of Declan Rice. We're talking about a guy that is not coming close to the consistency of Martin Odegaard. And of course, Odegaard at Arsenal literally does everything. Presses, runs a lot, dictates the tempo of the play, picks up the ball from defenders and the goalkeeper. He literally does everything. So you expect that because he's a creative player, he's kicked a lot, because he's pressing a lot, he's getting tired, and therefore he's susceptible to pick up more injuries. And also he's playing for a weaker nation in Norway, where, literally the nation depends on him and Erling Haaland, right? So for me, Pedro Neto has got no excuses. You're not playing 30 games this season. You cannot say you're playing a lot of games. You're playing 20 games, you're playing 12 games, you're playing 18 games. There is no excuse for this guy's injury record. It's either he has been mismanaged in terms of the physios, that is, getting to treat his injuries. But again, if you're the physio, your report has 100 cases of different injuries to this guy. So there is no way you're saying we treated this and this led to this. No way. These are very different injuries, one in the ankle and the other in the hamstring and the other on the arms and the other in the, in the thighs. So literally for me, this is a player Arsenal like, a player that Mikel really, really likes a lot. I think he's followed him for quite some time. We've been linked with him since 2022. But we've got to agree. The way we let go of Hausemoa, the way we let go of Yuri Tillemans, the way we let go of a couple of players that were top on the priority list, but we let go of some reasons, money, this and that. This is a ship we have to let sail.
Okay, so you did say there's a chance you feel like you're not going to get a striker. If you're told, okay, first question is, if you don't get a striker, and then we're told, okay, you're going to get a winger and a number 10, would you be happy with that?
A winger and a number 10.
Yeah, but no striker.
This summer, 100%. This summer, 100%. Because I think I'm starting to agree with whoever is out there that the striker market is kind of a scam, right? We were scammed with a few pictures in January. Hey, this is available. Hey, Sahu Girassi is available. Right now, we are in the market and we're like, Sahu Girassi was 29. Where has he been the rest of the 10 years? Where has we been? Really? Solanke? No, please. Thank you. So we are looking at the market, and it's the reality of the market is, this kind of Instagram versus reality. So no, strikers, it's a bit hard. So I think a number 10, if you're giving me someone like Eze, I would be 100%.
Okay, so my options were, if you're told no striker, but you're going to get Xavi Simons and Pedro Neto. Are you happy with that?
No, 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 no. Now, with the problem I have with Pedro Neto, Javi Simons 100% because Javi again he can play on the left wing and the right wing,
Mm,
and the midfield in number 10. So I'll be happy with him. Pedro Neto, no, because I think with Neto he would force us into the Alexander Zichenko situation where you sign
mm,
one player, you sign a player, you think he's going to be there, the number one for you for 5, 6 years, and you find that he's got a couple of problems. He's injury prone, but then also he can't defend. I think with
mm.
Neto, you sign him and you realize, this was a mistake. We thought he would work on his injuries. We have failed. We've got to move him on. So no, no, no. With Pedro Neto, I'm not onto that ship. I'm not onto that boat. I would let it sail. I would get a
Mm.
winger, a different one. You know my options. You know the guys I like. Not Pedro Neto. Not Pedro Neto.
He's 24. People will argue he's
Yeah.
24. Do you think his injuries because people have been injured at the beginning, but they recover and they become better players? Do you think we are also going to take a risk with him, like we are going to do with the younger players? Like we're going to develop me by the time he's 26 in the next 2 years, injuries are behind him and it's become a force.
24 is
Or
a
it's
very
too
good
risky.
age. Yeah, but 24 is a very good age, like really, really very good age. But players like Jack Wilshere, I mean, we all thought, and he had a manager that loved him very much in Arsene Wenger. He believed in him. And Jack Wilshere didn't need a lot of time to train before coming back into the team. The moment Wilshere stepped on grass, back in the team, stepped on grass, back in the team. I don't
Mm,
think right now with this Arsenal team, Pedro Neto is going to have that liberty. First and foremost, you've got to work your way into the Arsenal 11 right now. You've got to work your way like really hard. I'm going to give an example of Emil Smith Rowe. Emil Smith Rowe, is he injury prone categorically? No, he is not. He's had a groin injury that has disturbed him for on 2 occasions. I think the first one was during his loan spell at Leipzig. The second
yeah,
one, was it the whole of last season? Um,
the
the
whole
whole
of
of the
previous
other
season.
season. Yeah, yeah,
Previous
yeah,
season.
exactly. So I don't think he is injury prone categorically, but look at how quickly he has faded out of this Arsenal starting 11 to an extent that we're
Mm,
talking about, does he really fit in anymore? We are asking
mm,
that question. Does he really fit in anymore? Um, let's talk about Gabriel Martinelli, who has had a season, by the way, that was poor, but not the worst. That is not sackable. But we are
mm,
talking about, should Trossard start 30 games and Martinelli come from the bench, right? For those 30 games. I think with Pedro Neto, you would have a guy that comes in, works his way into the starting 11 very, very well. And then the moment he starts 2 games, boom, he is injured for 17 games. By the time he comes back, the team has already settled. We have sailed on. We have a very good rhythm. And you're not going to drop a guy. You're not going to drop Martinelli or Saka or Trossard or Vieira or whoever is going to be playing in his position because
yeah,
Neto is coming back. Not really. You're not a Declan Rice. You're not costing £100 million. So
yeah,
no, for me, I don't think his injuries are going to be put behind him. I think every single season, if he gets a manager who wants to protect him and wants to work on his injuries, maybe we could see him as a substitute a lot of the time. We could see
yeah.
him come off games in the 70th minute before he gets injured, before his body gets a little bit hot for to pick up an injury. But I don't think at Arsenal that's what we're looking for. We're looking for someone that is durable. We're looking at durable players. Like,
Yeah.
you're going to be kicked in this Arsenal team. We're talking about an Arsenal team that have the most kicked player in Bukayo Saka. We're talking about a team that is looking to dominate and suffocate teams. The only way teams are going to have their way against us is by going physical, going bullish, stepping on your toes, stepping on your Achilles, stepping on your, on your feet, stepping on your ankles to try and get out, to try and keep you away from scoring against them. If you really can't do it for Wolves, because Wolverhampton
Yeah.
Wanderers don't have the ball a lot of the time, right? So at times you're defending, at times you're not even, you're just sitting in shape. With Arsenal, you're always on the ball, you're always attacking someone. Someone is always trying to
Mhm.
stop you. So no, I don't think his injury was as just coming to an end. I think his career is going to be riddled with injuries. And I hope I'm not truly rude when I say that, but I'm looking at Saka and I'm like, if he wasn't a durable player, this boy would be really, if Saka was Gabriel Martinelli, and I think Martinelli has really done very well in terms of improving on the injury record. But if Martinelli was kicked as Martinelli is kicked, sorry, if Martinelli was kicked
Saka.
as Saka was kicked, I don't know. I really,
There's a
really
time.
don't know.
There's a time Martinelli missed almost a full year, like nine,
Ex-
10 months, and then he
yeah,
recovered. But
exactly.
so
So Neto, no,
so
no.
let us know in the comment section, Neto, what you do with him. Would you take him? So you wouldn't take him at all, like even if it was 5-10 million.
No, I wouldn't.
So let us know in the chat. Would you take Pedro Neto even to come and be a backup for Saka? Do you think it's a no-brainer with that, despite the injuries? Personally, I think he's a very, very good player on his day, but the injuries are concerning. His is even more, he misses a lot of games. His hamstring injuries, the hamstring is gone, and we already have several players like that. Because they said, at least we know the injury with Jesus, we know what to do.
Yeah.
But you already have Jesus, you already have Tomias, you already have Zinchenko, you already have Pat. You still already have a lot of players who are injury prone. Recently, we've been signing players who are durable. Ben White, Havertz, Declan Rice, players who can play multiple games, Odegaard. So I think that's the direction we are going. But speaking of Partey, let's go to our midfield situation now. According to reports in terms of Arteta's plans for the midfield, this is what came out a couple of days ago from the Athletic, David Onstein. Strengthening midfield is seemingly now the primary focus for Arsenal this summer. The indications are that the club are leaning towards adding a number 6 rather than number 8, as they feel there are more attractive options in the market. So the first question for you, Cos, in this, if you're the Arsenal manager, which position do you feel like we need someone? Like going into this transfer window, which position did you feel like we need someone? Is it the number 6? Is it the number 8? Or did you feel I want someone who can play both? Muted?
I wanted someone dynamic. Someone who could play a little bit of both, someone who could give us a little bit of both. Because I think that the traditional Partey, the traditional Rodri, the traditional Busquets, the kind of caliber that those players are, is very difficult to get. The only player right now I would say that is completely like that is Joao Neves, and he's 120 million euros. So which position did I look at and I'm like, we are short there? It is in that number 6. It is the number 6, and I had done a whole video of number 6 signings that Arsenal could sign or Arsenal should go for, and the reason that's why I never even published that video on my channel was because Arsenal are now deciding to look at Declan Rice, and his position was going to determine who comes in, and it's like, I mean, is there a point anyway? But for me, it's a hybrid. If you can get someone who can play a hybrid, that's okay. But I think number 6 is going to be very, very crucial. Rice's future is in the number 8 at Arsenal for me. I don't see Jorginho play beyond 2 years at Arsenal anymore. I don't see Partey play beyond 2 years at Arsenal anymore. Albert Sambila Konga, thank you so much for whatever you've done. You've just given us a real reason in the past 1 or 2 years that you're not the guy that we need in that position. So I think Arsenal really have gone back to the years of 2019, 2018, when we didn't have a reliable guy we could call our own DM.
Do you reckon if Lokonga became such a beast, we wouldn't have been looking for a midfielder right now? Do you think we'd still have needed more? Or do you think it would have been like Lokonga would have been the guy to replace Pat?
I think that was the plan. The plan was for Mikel Arteta to groom his own DM, his own number 6 that would follow into the footsteps of Thomas Partey. And I think like if he had come good, imagine if Albert Sambila Konga was Joao Neves. If we were talking about as Albert Sambila Konga, the way we're talking about Joao Neves, I don't think Arsenal would be panicking. I don't think Arsenal would need someone. I think maybe would need an understudy, but that would be like 2 years from now or 1 year from now, with Partey now sure is gone and Jorginho is also gone. So we would need bring in someone like an understudy. Again, another younger Lokonga to actually cover for Lokonga when he's not around. But I think because the Lokonga project failed, now Arsenal really need to get in a number 6.
That makes sense. Now, speaking of that, we are linked to another different Belgian midfielder. So let's start with Onana. According to reports on Onana, Amadou Onana is set to leave Everton with Arsenal having made contact with the Toffees, who want at least 50 million for the midfielder. This was according to the Mail Spot. But the ex-Everton chief executive reported or was asked and said, his name is Keith Wenes, Amadou Onana is one who I think will go. I believe from my sources there's interest from Arsenal, and that's something which could materialize. I've heard certainly that negotiations are ongoing. So someone who used to work for Everton definitely has sources still at Everton. So you'd probably take what he's saying more than other people. So the negotiations are going on with Onana. So my first question for you, Kozi, is if we can only sign one midfielder and we're told, listen, we're only going to sign one midfielder, that number 6, we spend 50 million on Onana or we spend 15 million on Fofana. Who would you go for?
It's difficult. It's very difficult because both of them have predominantly played at CM. I've actually just found out today that Yusuf Fofana played majority of his games and has played majority of his career at CM rather than at DM. And actually, when I look at his game, he's very, very Yaya Toure like. He's very Yaya Toure like. So like when you look at him, he's about dribbling. He's about carrying the ball into spaces. He's about breaking the lines, with movement. He's about give me the ball and I drive. It's not about passing a lot. So again, without Premier League experience, without being tested under the Mikel Arteta system, without me looking at him for such a long time, I would be very, very skeptical about him. The thing with Amadou Onana is in that number 6 for 50 million, I would not take him. I am not sure about him. Like I've looked at his qualities, I've looked at his game, I've looked at his attributes. They don't shout for me. They don't shout number 8, number 6. They shout number 8 actually, right? So I think I would go with Yusuf Fofana. He's a little bit of a smaller risk, number 1, and I think Arsenal can Arsenal can make good on him. Like if he comes in and is very, very good at number 8, you keep him, right?
Yeah.
Alongside Declan Rice. And then you bring in a number 6 later on. With Amadou Onana, my problem with him is that he would be expensive. If you wanted to move him on quickly, that might be a difficult thing. And then I think like if Arsenal brought in Onana, we might have to take a lot of time trying to fit him into that number 6, which would actually cost us. So for me, I would go with Fofana. I doubt Onana's profile. I think it's more of a number 8. I think it's more of a CM, actually, modern CM rather than a modern DM.
I'm not yet. We did a video on Cause's channel yesterday. I gave my opinions on Onana and Onana. For me, if Partey is leaving, I don't trust any of them unless you bring in both of them in terms of numbers. And you can change things in around depending on the game. And you said he's been playing most of his games in central midfield, and Onana we see him as a box to box more than a number 6 who's going to control everything in midfield. So it's a bit difficult. So if Partey was staying, I'd be comfortable with that. So is your answer still the same, whether Partey is staying or leaving? If Partey was leaving, would you be happy for Fofana ahead of Onana, or would you change it back depending on whether Partey is staying?
No. I would still get Fofana. I think he's closer to playing DM because he's played some games at DM for Monaco. So I would still go with Fofana instead of Onana. I think the thing with Onana is that he's young, coachable. And I think that is the one trait that Mikel is looking at. Young,
Premier League experience as well.
And experienced. I mean, he's got a lot of experience for his age. He's just 23. So when you look at him, I think Mikel believes that if I can coach Kai Havertz into center forward, I can coach Amadou Onana into deep lying playmaking and into, single pivot. I think that's what he's trying to do. I am not 100% sure about him. I think he's too enjoying when it comes to the football. He wants to get involved a lot of the time. He wants to, you'll find him out of position so many times. Does he have the discipline the parties have just to let action go, and watch it from a little bit far away, as you wait to, as you organize the rest defense, look at where Saliba is, look at where, Gabriel is, and just stay in
Mhm.
shape, just be that kind of, a full back position guy. I don't think he is. Now, in terms of breaking through the lines, in terms of being brave, that is one quality I am sure he has, because he's naturally a central midfielder. So, in terms of him picking up the ball in deeper areas, in terms of him, progressing the ball and passing it through the lines to find the likes of Rice, and the likes of Odegaard, he would be marvelous at that. He would be marvelous, marvelous, at doing that. But the other responsibilities in that role, that's where my heart says no, no, no.
Okay, so if Fofana was the one for 50 million and Onana for 15 million, would you change your mind?
I, I would change my mind again.
So
50
it's about
million.
how much they're really worth. It's about how much
Not
they're really worth.
not
Also a bit
really.
of
If
quality, yeah,
okay,
but
if
yeah.
both of them were 50 million, I would take Fofana.
Yeah.
I would take Fofana. I think Fofana
Okay,
is
that makes sense.
closer. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think Fofana is closer to what Arsenal need for me. I've not watched him a lot, but when you look at his numbers on FBref, you feel like, he's closer to what us. He's closer to what we need. And when you look at his clips as well, his ball winning technique and his willingness to defend, I don't think Onana is big on defending. Honestly, at
Mm,
Arsenal, he's going to come into a side that is, you know big on domination, suffocation. We are going to be on the ball all the time. But there are a few
yeah.
times when you have to defend, like you've seen Lodri defend, position very well, pick up the ball, Partey as well, Jorginho as well. The times when you're going to be willing to, you have to be willing to defend, at times even fall back into,
Mm.
defense. In between Saliba and Gabriel, things like that. I don't think he's willing to do that. I don't think he's happy to do that.
Okay, a couple of quick fire questions. Who do you think will settle in more quicker than the other at Arsenal?
Yeah,
Arsenal's
who would
midfield.
settle in more better? I think for me, I think Fofana would into Arsenal, because I'm looking at a player who literally has the attributes we have in Declan Rice, right? If we can sacrifice Rice into the six and play, Fofana in the eight, he's an engine. He's a midfield dynamite, and his ball carrying is excellent. Now, with Ahmad Onana, again, I like him as a player, but at 21, 22, 23, there is a lot you're still learning. There's really, really a lot you're still learning. I don't think that he comes from a relegation threatened side to a Premier League, fighting side, and he 100% takes on the responsibility at that young age. I've seen him for Belgium. I
Mhm.
think in Belgium, that's where the real picture of him comes in. He's still very raw, like really, really very raw. You're talking about a guy that has two options to break through the lines, and then he just passes the ball backwards. Then you have a guy that, has a chance to pass the ball into maybe a Kevin De Bruyne or into a Leonard Trossard, and then he just dribbles into traffic. So I think he's still very, very raw. Would make a lot
Yeah.
of mistakes. He's still going to make a lot of mistakes. So I would still go with Fofana for those 2 more years of experience.
Who do you think will bring us more clean sheets?
More clean sheets again for again for Fana. I think he's more willing to defend. I think he's going to eat up more ground in terms of going backwards as compared to going up. I think him and Rice would equally, share the responsibility of cover this area, I'll cover this area, make this run, I'll make this run, just to make sure that, pick up the ball. And again, both of them, their ball winning technique and ball winning, success rates are really good. So again,
M-
more clean sheets, I'm going with Fofana.
More goals?
Onana. There I would go with Onana. He's braver. In terms of
Mm.
breaking through the lines, he's braver. I like it about him, and I think because he's played in a system for Sean Dyke where he's allowed a lot of freedom. He's gone.
Yeah.
He's gained this character of, the main character. I'm the main character, and most of the players that have that main character, feeling, they're so good on the offensive. They're very, very good on the offensive. They love to use the ball. He's technically gifted, by the way. I know many people would say, "Well, Kasi, you talk about him as if he's a bad player." He's a very good player. He's very, very technically gifted. So in terms of scoring more goals, I think he enjoys the action better, and he's not, primitive and reserved and conservative. So I think Onana would give us more goals.
Okay, and the last one of the most important ones. Who do you think Declan Rice would enjoy playing with the most?
Wow,
Like
wow, wow, wow.
complementary. Like, okay, you're going or you're staying. Okay, I'm going now. Like they would understand each other completely.
That's interesting. That's very, very interesting. I'm going to go
Because we
with
were told, yeah,
mm,
we were
mm.
told that our midfield basically depends on what Rice. They're planning
Yeah,
around
sure.
Rice as well, like where he's going to play and stuff.
Now, I would have gone with Fofana in terms of
Mm,
complementarity. The reason that's why I'm going to go with Onana is goals, because when I look at Onana's game, I can see a
mm.
midfielder who gets in the penalty area and can score goals. Like we've seen him score goals for
As
for
Rice would
example.
want to do that as well, no? Do you think that will affect the
So,
midfield
so,
if both of them
so
want to do that?
what I'm trying to say is
Mm.
when the roles are reversed and
Yeah,
we
yeah.
are playing a dynamic midfield, where Rice stays
Okay, I
and
hear it.
then
I hear
Onana
it.
goes
Yeah,
forward, yeah, we would
yeah.
still get the goals. And when
Mm,
Rice goes and Onana stays, we'd still get the goals. So because of
mm,
that, I don't see goals in Yusuf Fofana. I don't see
mm.
a lot of assists in Yusuf Fofana. I think it's a
I
traditional.
don't see too many goals in Onana as well. It's just a question I was throwing at you. I don't think they would
Mm.
get many goals, any of them.
No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't.
Mm.
But when you compared the two, when we compare the two,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
Fofana is kind of far away in terms of
Mm,
like I don't know which kind. I don't know who I can compare him to in terms of. I think is this number 8 like Adam Watson. You can see his
mm.
game is very good, but there are no goals there. There are no goals there. Like yeah, so I think I would go with Onana because I know Declan Rice is so good at ball winning and is very good at playing passive passes, right?
Mm.
So because Onana can break through the lines with his passes and also with his ball carrying, I would go with Onana.
Interesting. So that was a very good one. Let us know in the comment section who would you take for Fana and Onana. I think because this question was better. If they were both 50 million, who would you take between the two? But they're not both 50 million. Onana is 50 million. And Fofana is 15 million. Do you think between them, which one do you think Onana is worth that extra 35 million, or do you think there's no need of paying that extra 35 million? I'd rather get for fun. Let us know in the comment section. The last topic we're going to cover is on a defender. Obviously, you're looking for a left-sided defender. By the way, I saw Kadioglu playing for Turkey. He is incredible going
Yeah,
forward, man.
yeah, yeah.
Hatu has been linked to Arsenal as well. But there's another one, this time from Crystal Palace.
Yes, yeah.
Gehi. So, according to reports from court offside, sources with a close understanding of the situation of told court offside that Arsenal and Newcastle are keen on Mark Gehi, and both clubs could try to get negotiations going by making opening bids for the player. Crystal Palace are understood to value Gehi at around £50 million, which Arsenal and Chelsea, not Chelsea, Chelsea's in my mind for some reason, Arsenal and Newcastle consider too high. So, Mark Gay, incredible performance for England in the first game against Serbia. He was the best defender in that game. He had a lot of interceptions, ball recoveries. He was very, very good in that game. Is Mark Gay a player you've ever looked at? Like, this is a guy on because I've heard you talk about Anderson before, if I'm not wrong. Between the two, Anderson, you probably would prefer Anderson. You've looked at him before. Is Mark Gay a player you've looked at him and been like, I'd like to see this guy at Arsenal one day?
Incredible talent, like really incredible talent. I had thought that Tomori would actually make it to the
Yeah.
England
Mm-hmm.
squad,
Yeah.
before him, because again, Tomori is an incredible player. But
Mm-hmm.
Mage, he is absolutely sick. He is very, very good. And I think because he's new to the system, people will not understand how good he is for England until he plays like 2-3 tournaments. And I think he's got into that team. He's not going to go out. So yeah, have I seen McGahey? Have I looked at McGahey and I'm like, this is a player I would love at Arsenal? Both
Mm-hmm.
of them, McGahey and Mitchell at Crystal Palace.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm going to confess, I'll take 9 Crystal Palace players at Arsenal right now. Like I can't lie. I would take 9 Crystal Palace. Okay, maybe not
Is
nine.
Jordan are you part of that list?
Never, never. I would never sign a in my
Yeah.
team. But but
Yeah.
but guys, we've got to be honest here. There is real talent in Micho. There is real talent in Magehi. And Magehi is the better one for me. Like he's so solid. He's kind of a bully. He throws himself in the line of fire. But on the ball, right? On the ball, and he's playing. By the way, he's playing alongside John Stones for England, and
Yeah.
John Stones is incredibly good on the ball, like best of the rest when it comes to England defenders. When in terms of being on the ball, but Gehi is sick. 50 million.
Yeah. He likes
Um,
being on the ball as well. Likes
yeah,
to try those long passes as
yeah,
well.
yeah, 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 yeah. And that's one of the reasons why I've said I don't think he gets out of that England setup. Even if they change a manager, he's just going to be there and he's going to play football like for quite a long time. So if Arsenal really mean it and they really want to get him, please get him this summer. Next summer, go for Mitchell.
For 50 million?
I mean, Ben White is 50 million. I'm not going to lie. Ben White
Mm.
had played one season in the Championship, one season in the Premier League. Arsenal spent 50 million on him. And I don't think that you're going to get good good defensive quality these days for less than
Mm.
45 million. It's usually around there. Now, when you go and get scammed with the likes of Cucurella, you know that the defensive market has now become really serious. So for me, Gehi 50 million for such an age, I don't think that anyone is scamming you. We have seen a guy that has done it and done it and done it, and it's high time he got to a bigger club. It's high time he got his efforts rewarded. Yeah, 50 million. I would invest in him.
Okay, I have three questions on on Gay. A lot to talk about
Yeah.
in this one. So, the first one is: do you see him as a player who can play as a centre back and can also be developed to also play as a left back like Kivio?
Yeah. First and foremost, we've just talked about his ball playing ability. I
Mm.
think the cross-cutting factor among all players that we have played, if you've watched Kivio for Poland,
Mm.
his ball
Yeah.
playing ability is insane for Poland. Like
Mhm.
Arsenal just wasting him, let him go to Napoli, let him go to Juventus. I've changed my mind. He is incredible when he's playing at centre back because then he can hit those long balls, into the channels. He's so good. So all the players Arsenal have signed as defenders can play the ball. Are ball playing,
Mhm.
are ball players. I think. I mean, with Gabriel, mm, the question marks, right? We have question marks
Mhm.
again. But the ones that we have signed in the recent era, Julian
Yeah.
Timber, best in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Jakub Kivio, incredible ball player.
Mhm.
Ben White, again, before Mikelata unlocked that part of his game, we didn't know that he could do that very well. Now we know. William Saliba,
Mhm.
he is good. Of course, he was signed a little bit earlier on, but Mikel
Yeah.
Arteta brought him back, being convinced about his game. So for me, and Tomiyasu as well, he can also play as well. So because he can play the ball very well, he's got that ability to carry the ball, he's got that ability to do a bit of a Rudiger somewhere.
Yeah.
I wouldn't really mind playing him into into the wing back positions. I wouldn't mind playing him left back. I wouldn't mind playing him center back as well on the left hand side.
Yeah.
Just alongside William Saliba, rock
Yes.
solid. And I think his intelligence and understanding of the game is also something that we've got to talk about. If you have a player like that, and he is, I kind of like when you're playing at left back and right back, you have a cheat code. You are kind of having a cheat code because you can see the whole pitch, the whole action, is in front of you, but in kind of an angle, an angled way. So I think he can. Like his
Yeah.
passing is lit. He's calm on the ball. He's come out of position. His tackles are timely, and one that doesn't really pick up, you know, yellow
Injuries.
cards
Yeah. Yeah. Because of
as much as you don't want to.
Okay, so if you look at who scored, one of his weaknesses, the main weakness, is heading ability in terms
Yeah.
of defending. Do you think that's a huge concern?
Not really a huge concern because I think if Arsenal signed him, we would play him at left back. That is number one. So it wouldn't really be a huge concern. And also, secondly, I think Arsenal, Mikel has built this Arsenal team physical and
Yeah.
in the last 2 years on purpose. Like when you look at the players we have, the two centre backs, Declan Rice, then Kai Havertz, then Ben White. I kind of feel like we have created enough trees in that team. So
Yeah.
bringing in someone with a little bit of technical ability, wouldn't really hurt. I wouldn't really mind it very much.
Okay, a couple of quick fire questions to end it. Gehi for 50 million or Diomande for 60 million?
Gehi for 50 million.
Hato for 50 million or Gehi for 50 million?
Gehi for 50 million. Premier League proven. Premier League proven.
Inacio for 40 million or Gehi for 50?
Inacio. Inacio's talent, Inacio's talent is incredible.
And that's, I just put a price on him. It's not going to be 40 million, right? He would be more
Definitely.
than that.
But for 40 million, even if Inacio cost 60 million and Gehi cost 50, I'll still take Inacio because Portugal were looking for a goal and they were a goal down. And the manager brought on Inacio. That is like he took off Diego Dallo and he brought on Inacio. Inacio is a center back, guys. Inacio is a center back. His talent is incredible. Inacio.
Okay, last one. Sell Kivio for 20 million and replace him with Gay for 50 million. Would you take that?
Do the deal. It's a difficult one. It's a difficult one. Do the deal.
Wow.
I'm gonna say this. Jared Braithwaite is not going to go to Man United because of the price, and also Jean-Claire Todibo because of UEFA rules are not going to go to Man United. Keep your eyes on Mark Gehi. He might end up at Man United, and him and Lisandro Martinez, if they're going to play in the same setup, right? I mean, two left-footed centre backs. I don't know how that works, but if they can fit him there, if he can play on the left-hand side of that defense, United will have a very, very good centre back. Whoever gets him will have gotten a very, very rock solid centre back. I mean, you talk about Premier League proven, and this guy has played in the Premier League not one season, by the way. Like these are players that have been in the Premier League and we are used to them. Like I can name you the Crystal Palace 11, but most of them are quality players. At the moment, if you ask me how many players I would take from Crystal Palace, Anderson, Mitchell,
Klein,
and like I would take that back line. Like no question
Gehi,
about it. And Gehi, I would take that back line.
Watson, Eze, Olise.
Watson, Eze, Olise. They have another one that they got from was it Nottingham Forest?
A player? Crystal Palace? I'm not an expert on Crystal Palace.
Is Dokor? Do they have someone called Dokor, right?
Oh, yeah,
Dokor, right?
do.
The one that Liverpool wanted to sign last summer for around 60, 70 million. Again, Dokor is another beautiful player. And they have another, is it called what? I've just forgotten his name.
The ninth one has to be Jordan Ayew. I know you don't want to say it, but I know the ninth one has to be John Mateta.
No. I wouldn't take any of their attacking options apart from Olise. I wouldn't take, and maybe Eze. Olise, Eze. Those ones are the ones I would take.
They do have some really good players, though. Eze, Olise, Watson, and all of those guys. But let us know what you make about everything you talked about. You've covered the midfield situation. Would you take ONANA or Fofana? We covered the latest on our left centre back position in terms of Gehi. Tierney, would you keep Tierney for this season? And also Neto. Let us know about all that. Make sure to check out Koz's channel. The link is in the title. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch up with you on the next one.